Welcome to the Age of Awakening.
Please identify yourself. Enter.
Hey, Triple P Nation, welcome back to the podcast. This week, like every week on the Triple P Life podcast, we're going to explore the tools, tactics, and strategies to help you achieve personal and business mastery. And this week, I've got a really interesting guest. We talk about the 4 pillars of a Triple P life: mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. And honestly, don't talk a lot about spirituality for a variety of reasons. One is it's hard to find guests who are really kind of well versed in this topic. And just so you know, we're not trying to put a specific agenda or religion or anything on you. Now, I believe in God, and I'm proud and happy to say that. It's been a big part of my life, will always be. I would not be where I am if it wasn't for my relationship with God and all the incredible blessings he's bestowed upon me and my family, leaning on him during times of troubles and tribulations, and always knowing where source comes from. But that's me. You may be very, very different, and I respect that. But whether you want to acknowledge or not, there is a portion to this equation called success and believing in something bigger than yourself. Everyone who's ever written a book on personal development or on success will tell you that they're at a core, or at their core is they believe in something bigger than themselves. Now, that could be God, it could be spiritualism, and you can define God in any way. It could be, Jehovah, it could be God, it could be Allah, that's entirely up to you. But all I'm trying to do is help you understand that every successful person I've ever met, every book I've ever met and read from really successful people have this core foundation of something, believing something bigger than themselves. And so this week, I've got an incredibly, really special guest, Catherine Duncan. Catherine is an integrative spiritual consultant. I know, right? I'm looking forward to learning about that as well, too. And she's really passionate about helping whole person healing. In her own private practice, Learning to Thrive, she companions individuals who are struggling with chronic illness, life transition, grief, loss, and those searching for more meaning and purpose. She's got an incredible story. She talks about 2 near death experiences that she experienced: one as an 11-year-old dealing with a severe childhood cancer, and then again in her 30s, which changed the trajectory of her life. So, really fascinating story you're going to learn. And Catherine talks specifically about her new book, Everyday Awakening, which is a Amazon bestseller. Some of the things we've talked about on this show, but from her perspective, which is very unique and also very inspirational, it's about our relationship with ourselves. It's about being intentional. It's about living in a sense of conscious awareness, being present with our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings, and understanding that we're not a prisoner of them, that we can choose to move in and out of them anytime we want, and giving us the skill sets of how to be able to navigate through that. So that's why I'm really excited to have Catherine on this week to discuss that. Plus, she's a wonderful person. So before we get into my interview, of course, it wouldn't be a normal episode if we didn't get into our weekly success snack. And this week's success stack is simply to amplify. Okay, Jay, what does that mean? Well, guys, complexity kills. So the rule here is I want you to keep it simple so you can scale it. The more complicated we make things, the more complicated, the more complex we make things, more challenge it is to navigate through it, the more obstacles that we achieve or experience, and the more resistance life will begin to present to us. So you've heard of the acronym, right? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. This is what it's all about. So as we're progressing into the next year, look for areas in your life where you can begin to simplify. I guarantee you, if you were to do a self-reflection, as we're talking about here, some self-awareness, some perception, there's aspects of your life right now that we have way overcomplicated it. And as a result, it's preventing it or so holding us back from achieving the kind of things that we want. And as we are setting goals for 2025, and I hope you are, because that's what winners do, right? Only a small percent do, but everyone listening to this show are winners. And winners in the sense is that you understand that proceeding and moving forward and achieving certain goals and desires is intentional. It's something that doesn't happen randomly or haphazardly. Yeah, of course, you can win the lottery and throw it, but even that, I'm telling you, there's a level of energy in that that attracted that experience to you. Nothing happens in a vacuum. So keep it simple to amplify. That's this week's Success Neck. Before I get to Catherine, if you haven't done so recently, please go to your favorite podcast app and hit your like, share, and follow button so you know when the next episode drops. Give us a review if you're a new listener. Greatly appreciate that because I feel a sense of gratitude and humility to be able to sit behind this mic each and every week and you grant me an audience. You give me the opportunity to lead, to teach, to inspire the things that I love to do, that I'm most passionate about, talking about the topics that mean the world to me, and I think resonate well with you. Why? Because our numbers tell us that. We continue to grow and expand, and that's not by accident. Now, I understand a lot of you say, Jay, I never know what you're going to be talking about. You could be talking about money mindset, and then all of a sudden next week, you've got 5-time Emmy Award-winning journalist with her new book, Follow the Science. And then you're talking about success habits. And I know, I get it. I'm a little ADD. I'm a little squirrel-like when it comes to that because I'm interested in all these topics. And I know many of you are. So please give me some grace. The fact is that each week you're never going to know, but it's kind of like a grab bag. You stick your hand in a jar. You don't know if you're going to pull out an Oreo or if you're going to pull out, a chocolate chip cookie. But hey, that's what you get here. It's a grab bag of great content and information that allows you to go down many different ways. Plus, it doesn't stay boring. I appreciate you guys for that. I appreciate your understanding, but more importantly, of course, I'm most grateful for your friendship and your listenership. I take this very seriously. And because of that, I will always work my hardest to give you the best content, the best guests that will help you achieve your Triple P life. All right. Enjoy my interview with Catherine Duncan. Hey, Triple P Nation. As I mentioned, my guest this week is Catherine Duncan. And Catherine is an integrative spiritual consultant. And we're going to learn more about that here in the future, in just a few minutes, in fact. And she is a Amazon bestselling author of Everyday Awakening. And so here we are, Catherine. By the way, welcome to the podcast.
Great to meet you. Thank you for having me on today.
So here we are with the end of the year, holiday season. So many people struggling emotionally for a variety of different reasons. As I'm sure you're aware of, mental health issues are at an all-time high through genders, all age groups, races. I have a theory, it's all it is. But my belief is there's so much mental issues going on in our country today is because we've lost our spiritual guide. We've lost a center, a purpose higher than ourselves. And I can't recall who said it, but when either God or spirit is not at the center of your life, it's not that that void remains. It's just that we fill that with something else. And that something else is not nearly, of course, as fulfilling as being connected with a higher power. So that's kind of a fun way to jump off. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
I think there is a lot of unrest in the world, a lot of chaos, especially in the United States where we just had an election. There's a lot of upheaval right now externally. And I've been hearing this every single day in my private practice for a few weeks now. And just in the moment, what I'd offer is, are you placing your focus in the external chaos, dysregulation, or that internal grounding and finding that peace and grounding within ourselves? Because if we're dysregulated internally, like the world, I think, as we're dysregulated right now, that's not going to help anyone. So just can you find that peace, that ease, some grounding within, because that will help you physically, emotionally, spiritually, from a well-being standpoint, and impact everyone around you. So just even starting there, noting what's happening in the world right now, and specifically what's happening in the United States.
Which I'm sure has a lot to do with your title of your book, Everyday Awakening, right? It's self-perception, it's being aware. You talked about dysregulation. Explain that for my audience.
It's fascinating. We can turn on the stress response, meaning going into a fight or flight, where cortisol all of a sudden is flowing in our body by thought alone. So just tuning in, where are you? Are you living in your mind? Are you living in your body? Are you feeling a sense of peace and calm? Are you feeling unrest? We can self-regulate our body by breathing, by meditating, by rewiring our brain called neuroplasticity. There's so much we can do to heal our body, to move our body, mind, spirit into a calm state. But it takes a consciousness, awareness, and a choice. And yes, impetus of writing my book about how are you choosing to live your life? And we're all making choices all day long.
How'd you get into this work? What, inspired you or motivated you? Obviously, you have training. So, yeah, how did you get fascinated and pursue this career?
This whole concept of awakening, and I think awakening is about just dropping into our heart, our soul, what it means to be alive right now. And for me, a bit unusual. It started for me at 11 years old. When I was 11 years old and faced potentially dying, I was suddenly very ill, diagnosed with a very rare childhood cancer. My parents were told I had a 20% chance to live. This is in the 70s. No one talked to me, no medical staff, my family, no one talked to me. And starting to go through pretty intensive treatments, I could feel that I was between life and death. I felt like I was walking on a tightrope between life and death. And that is when, out of nowhere, I started to pray, and prayer had meant nothing to me. We occasionally would go to a Lutheran church. I just started to pray. My prayer was, could I live? I decided, I wanted to live. I started praying, could I please live? And could I please live to be 20? It was my prayer. And it was not long after that all of a sudden this peace one afternoon just poured through my body, took my breath away. And it was just a knowing, like, wow, I had a sense I was going to live. I wasn't alone. That started me on the journey that I'm on to this day.
It's fascinating. And that's not unusual. So many people have had similar experiences such as you did. So as an 11-year-old, I can only imagine being faced with your mortality. It's hard to do it, as an adult, let alone as an 11-year-old. And you innately turn to God rather than putting your faith in, let's say, a healer or your doctor or whatever the case may be. And of course, I'm sure they assisted, but you turn and put your faith in God. And so that was a transformation for you, I'm assuming, that has probably been at the center of everything in your life since then.
Absolutely. And when I think back, what I can remember at 11 going through this, I didn't really have a concept of God. I was so little, and I just had, here and there gone to church. I mean, my mother, I remember vividly my mom sitting next to her in church, and she had the most beautiful voice singing. But I just started pleading, praying, like, I really want to live. I want to live. And then it formed over time into this concept of God. And then to where I'm at today, it's like, it's almost all that is, the unnameable. I've worked with thousands of people. I after being in the corporate world, became a chaplain, and now I have a private practice, but I was with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and language is limiting. And I'm really open to being inclusive. And what is it for everyone hearing this? What is that sense of strength and inner guidance? And for me, it all unfolded over the years.
So then what actually is an integrative spiritual consultant? Like, how do you help people? I mean, it's a cool term or title. I've never heard that before. So I want to learn more about it. Tell me about it.
So when I say integrative, I mean whole person, mind, body, spirit. We're a whole being, mind, body, spirit. So we integrate. We don't, in so much of the medical world, it's all about the body, but it's the body, it's the mind, it's the spirit, what gives you life. And I've been voraciously studying and reading in this field for 30 years. As I said, I was a chaplain for years at our trauma hospital, HTMC, and then at Fairview Hospice. And then I started my private practice with an integrative medicine doctor, doing a lot of work with Dr. Greg Plotnikoff in the Twin Cities here. And so when I work with people, it's really addressing their whole being. And I think that's what healing is. And I really specialize in emotional and spiritual help and support and finding what that is for everyone I work with.
As a practicing chiropractor for 25 years, I saw lots of people. And, we would do an assessment evaluation, find some sort of physical issue that was, contributing to the trouble that they were experiencing. We put a plan together and help them. And in most cases, it was really good. But there were a certain percent of people who just, irregardless of what we would do, they just wouldn't get better. And objectively, we were seeing significant improvements. But what I learned and began to experience from my own journey was there was some sort of unresolved emotional issue that they were hanging on to that was the last piece they had yet to address. And it was fascinating because they're like, here, my chiropractor is telling me I've got unresolved emotional issues. It's like, maybe you should do a better job of fixing my spine. That was kind of the conversation. But time after time, as we would teach these techniques and, provide them resources to learn more about it, as they addressed this, man, it was crazy how the type of healing and results they would experience once they would go within. So can you speak to that process?
I go back to even thinking about how we're energy. I mean, this is proven. We are energy. We have a vibrational energy and energy around us called an aura. And here's research. The lowest vibrational energy our bodies can hold is fear, worry, regret, shame. Those are the lowest energies. And, I find people that I work with, if they're stuck in a place of just tremendous fear, it's just they get in what's almost called a limbic loop, where they're fearful, they're thinking a fearful thought, then it affects the emotion, then it affects the chemical release in their body, and they're just in this continual loop. And you need to have a consciousness and awareness to move out of that loop. And when you're in a state of fear, it's low energy, and it affects us dramatically, actually, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So that's where neuroplasticity comes in, but also just simply, can you notice, I keep worrying, I keep being fearful, it's the whole steps of identifying it, feeling the feeling, then growing the good, moving into a more positive state. And then, feelings like the highest levels of vibrational energy are love, gratitude, thankfulness. And I help people can you tune in and notice how that feels in your body? And I do think love is a healing balm. I've seen people completely recover from extreme illnesses, just embodying love and gratitude. So there are many layers here and many layers here to work with people.
I think the research bears that out. People who are in loving, nourishing relationships, have a strong family community who are pursuing purpose or do work that makes them feel that, they're making a difference, or it gives them joy or happiness, by far statistically are far happier, joyful, have less stress and anxiety. And it's not even materialistic, is it?
Yeah, I mean, when you just think about love, feeling grateful, thankful, highest vibrational energies, I think the reason we're here on this earth is to learn to love. I think what we take with us when we die is our ability to love. How we differentiate ourselves is our ability to love. I witnessed this with many people at the end of life as a chaplain, who everything dropped away and there was just this love, radiant glow around them before they died. And it was magical. It was just like a dropping into this is life. This is what it means to be here. It was so precious. It was just, how blessed was I to be able to walk with people. And they were such teachers of what it means to be here now.
So speak to that, being present, right? Being aware, self-awareness. Our lives are constantly in a level of, you talk dysregulation, I love it. Another word is distraction. The culture, media, the marketing, whatever it is, it's thousands of stimuli input throughout the day that's competing for our mind. It's competing for our thought process. And I don't think we realize how much we're being bombarded. And most of it subconsciously, we're not even aware of it. And because of that, unless you have a practice or a routine to work on your stillness and quietness, it's almost impossible to get out of that habitual, constant stimulation.
It starts with awareness. And I share with many people I work with, even tuning in midday, mid-afternoon. Can you tune in? Where am I? We know we're not our thought. We're not our feelings. We can watch our thought. We can watch what we're thinking. We can watch what we're feeling. So tuning in, am I in my mind or am I in my body? My body, our bodies are always in the present moment. Many, many people live, I would say, head up. Their mind runs them. They live on autopilot. And it takes a sense of awareness, building awareness. I say the awareness muscle to tuning in. Are you in your mind? When we're in our mind, we're in the past, the future. We're not even here. We're not even present. And it's in the moment when we come into the moment. So even right now while I'm talking, can you feel as you're breathing how your belly expands on the in-breath and recedes on the out-breath? Just noticing how our breath comes into our body. Or notice for a moment, if you're sitting or standing, can you feel your feet? Can you feel them right now? Whatever's there, being supported by the floor. It drops you into your body. It drops you into the present moment. It brings you out of your fast chattering ego mind into just here and now. And it's when we're in the moment, we can feel the breathing room, the peace, the ease, I think what people are longing for. And it's not found in our thinking mind.
So true. One of my initial mentors in this type of work, why I was so fascinated and excited to have you on, was Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he talked about thoughts were the language of the mind and feelings were a language of the body. And so you can tell where you're at from a vibrational tonal energy, as you had mentioned earlier. I'd recently done a seminar where I talked about David Hawkins's work at Power versus Force on the tonal scale. And you can understand from an energy and vibration standpoint where you're at any moment based on how you're feeling. But the beauty is you have the choice to change that instantly as well, too, with some of the things that you had just shared. And I think once people begin to recognize that, it's so empowering because you literally now have the tools within your grasp to change your life and your direction in an instant.
We do. And truly, that was the impetus of writing my first book, Everyday Awakening, and witnessing people at the very end of life, days before they died, having an awareness of the preciousness of the moment of life, of being alive. And they would even, several people would be like, oh, this is it. And my point in my book is that you don't have to wait until your end of life or your crisis or upheaval. You can choose right now to experience the fullness of life, being in the moment, dropping into just the essence. We're all the essence of oneness of all of us. We're all connected. And it's a choice and it's a practice for every one of us. It's something I practice every day. I'm mindful. I feel like I'm anchored much of the time in the present moment, but I'm human and I use my mind. And then all of a sudden, choom, a thought can come in and take me over there. And it's just I catch it and I come back. It's a practice. And the more you practice, the more I really believe we can live multidimensionally where our anchor is here and now in this moment. We use our mind for work planning, etc., organizing our life, but we are anchored in the moment. We can all do it, and it takes a real conscious choice and a daily practice.
I agree. And, the intuitive brain, I've often said is it's that higher power speaking to you or through you. I've always said, for me anyway, that my gut has never let me astray if I'm truly in tuned and listening to those messages, because it's never going to lead me down a path that's going to harm me or lead me astray. So the question I have for you as the work that you do, sometimes I struggle in definition. So let me explain. There are many people with a variety of different beliefs, a variety of different religions. Some are agnostic, some are atheists, wherever it may be. Some are spiritualists. How do you approach that with the work that you do? Because I can imagine that you talked about the balancing the tightrope. It's got to be a difficult thing when you're bringing these concepts to people.
I really resonate with the word spirituality, not so much religion. Yes, I'm an ordained minister, board certified chaplain, spiritual director, but I really resonate with spirituality. What gives you meaning? I think religion is more man-made doctrine, dogma, how you practice a tradition. But if you tune into what gives you meaning and what is life-giving, and the core of my training as a spiritual director before I became a chaplain was meeting the person on their path. and helping them open into what that is. What is it that's really life-giving? What is it that resonates with them? What is it that when they, as you were just saying, that nudging, that gut feeling, tuning into that, growing that, I think every one of us, everyone listening has gifts. If I think of the words clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, a knowing, a feeling, a seeing, a sensing, but you can't access that when you're in your busy mind. So it's coming to the moment, being present, tuning in, feeling into that guidance, feeling into that energy, and opening into what is that for everyone. So I work with people. Gosh, some people, they call this God, they call it Allah, Brahman, energy, true nature, source. There's just all that is, the infinite field of possibility. And it's okay. I'll tell you, the hardest people that I've worked with over many years as a chaplain were, maybe I shouldn't say this on your podcast, but
Go for it.
fundamentalists or people that were like, this is it, you have to believe in this. They put God, this energy in a box, and these are the rules, and this is how you do it. It's like, oh no, you just can't. It's like the more I've studied this over so many years, and I'm a voracious reader, I've read billions of self-help spiritual type books. It's like you can't put God in a box or the source, or you can. It's like opening into the unnameable and feeling into that.
Yeah, so true. You know, and maybe because it's our limited understanding, we try to put it in the box because then it doesn't require us to think outside the box. So we just stay within these rules and guidelines. It just makes it easier to follow. I don't know. It's just my summation. But you, obviously, as a chaplain, you work with people who are transitioning.
I'll share a tidbit.
Go ahead. Yes, please do.
Oh, sorry. Years ago, Ken Wilber, author, spiritual author, really fabulous books, a little more esoteric, but he defined 4 levels of spiritual maturation that was really helpful years ago for me. And the 4 levels are, the first is when you're just egocentric. It's me, 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 me. That's all life is. The second is ethnocentric. I'm this particular faith. I am Catholic or Jewish, or, where they define like, this is who I am. It's just, this is how they define their life. The third is world centric, defining who are you in the world. And the fourth is cosmocentric. It's like the world and beyond. And I thought, wow, that was lovely.
That is a great explanation. I have never heard that before. Which book was that?
Ken Wilber, he has a bunch of books. I'm trying to remember the exact book, but it was brilliant. But just being clear and aware and noticing, where do you live? And the more tight and rigid and life has to be this way, it's an awareness like, wow, I'm really tight in how I think I have to live. Can there be an opening?
Sure. And as people progress through those steps, I would imagine that's part of the awakening process, right? The concept of what's possible. Always, I love to live by that concept of what's possible, because if everything's possible, then there's no limits. And that's for me, it's kind of a cool way to approach life. As I was mentioning, working with people who, hospice type of care, who are transitioning from the physical world back to, the original source energy world. Because as we know, energy doesn't die, it just transforms, and we're energy beings. So I'm interested how you help people who haven't done this work, who are approaching death, perhaps with obviously fear and regret and guilt and all those things from accumulation of life's experience and memories and so on and so forth. I would imagine that's got to be a very challenging thing because, let's face it, the end is close, and to start at that point has got to be a challenge.
And for years, I was a chaplain. I now have a private practice, so I'm not really with people end of life every single day like I was as a chaplain, a hospice chaplain. But I would say there's no one set way, right way for anyone to die. It's all so individual. And helping people walk the path was my rule. And it was so sacred. It was just, for me, I facing my death twice, I just know in my depth of my being that death is not an end. We transform. So I held the belief that when I was with people, I was helping birth them to the other side. And that was my experience. I'm a mystic. I'm an intuitive. I see spirits. I see angels. I would see people at the very few days, in day, but they died, their spirit leave their body. I had many people as they died within days come back and see me in the middle of the night. I would open my eyes and there they would be and kind of nodding, thanking, and then be gone. But in the process of letting go, it's, letting go of hopefully they can find forgiveness, letting go of anything that's really holding them back, opening into what really matters, their heart, their soul, the love. And I witnessed that time and time again.
That's remarkable. But you're open to it, right? If you weren't open to it, there's no way that experience would occur for you.
Yeah, I tell you, to be, in my opinion, to be a chaplain, it's a calling. It's, first of all, the education to be a chaplain and work with people at end of life. I mean, just even in trauma, whatever facet, you go through Masters of Theology and Divinity and chaplaincy training for a couple of years, and then you go in front of all these boards. I mean, anyone can enter, but to come through on the other side is a really narrow little window. So you really got to want to do it. So I really felt very called to the work for quite a number of years. And then I actually at the end, I started feeling like a nudging, like I wanted to work with people in a broader capacity, not end of life, but more opening right now. And so that's how I transitioned into my work and in my private practice.
You dropped a point a minute or so ago. You had a second near-death experience. Could you share with us what happened there?
Yeah, in my 30s, I had, after what I lived through, I got through all the treatments, lived a pretty normal teenage life. And then my whole family, father, 5 older siblings, everyone is in business. So what did I do after college? I went into business. I worked for Time Magazine, selling regional advertising. And I would, on many trips, I'd bring stacks of books, 3, 4 books on life and meaning and purpose. And a bunch of my colleagues at Time Inc., would just laugh, like, what is this? What are you doing? Why are you reading this? And I just couldn't get enough of reading and still studying. And I loved the people contact when I was in advertising. And so it was the, 10th year with timing. Every year they took the top salespeople on a incentive trip, and fortunate to go on them. And this year we were in Costa Rica in January 2020, and it was a near-death experience, whitewater rafting.
Oh, wow.
And, we went down treacherous rivers we shouldn't have been going. It was level 3, level 4 rapids. The head of our boat was this crazy guy going right down the middle of the rapids. I had a life vest, a helmet on. And next thing you know, I was thrown off the raft. I'm deep underwater. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to die. I had flashbacks of me being a child patient in the hospital and my kids. And all of a sudden, this white light came around my body. And this voice, crystal clear, said, living or dying is fine. And I somehow had this peace come through me. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but I let go. I was curled up. I let go, and I came out from under a rapid. I was pulled on a boat. I survived. I was in shock. We had to finish getting down the river. We were in such a remote area. And it was a turning point because within weeks after I got back to Minneapolis, I gave my notice, even though I was doing fabulous with Time Magazine. I'm like, this isn't it. I need to listen. Where am I being called? And it was also interesting. Within a day of I was driving home from the airport to Minneapolis to our home. I called my mother, very more religious, and out of nowhere, never shared a dream in her life, said to me, Catherine, I hadn't even told her what happened. She's like, Catherine, I dreamed that I slipped into a river and I almost drowned. And then she woke up. And it was the day that happened. But that whole experience gave me the courage to leave, to listen. And I did. And I've never looked back since.
Wow, that is an incredible story. I love what you said, right? Where are you being called? And again, here we are, we're closing out 2024, approaching a new year. And so many people, at this time of year start thinking about goals for the upcoming year, and, whether it's, with their career or their health or relationships. I think that's a great question to meditate on, because far too many people, right, live their day-to-day life autopilot, through their subconscious mind, the reticular activating system. And we don't stop to contemplate enough. And it took you almost a near-death experience to realize you were going on the wrong path, and you had that awakening, and now look what you've done at this point. And I think so many of us who are struggling, they're doing okay, but we keep wondering, is this what I was meant to do? Is this why I'm here? I think that's a wonderful thing for listeners to meditate on, is that one particular question. What are you being called to do, perhaps that you're not doing or you are doing? And is that something in the meditative practices that you recommend?
I, in my work, really help people just come into the moment, come into their heart. I think our heart's the doorway to our soul. Come into just that feeling of essence, of presence, of the oneness with God, universe, whatever language you want to use. That's what I help people. And it's there where we can tune in to feel like, oh, yeah, I'm on my right path, or get a nudging or a sense, oh, I should take this direction. We have so much guidance within and around us if we're present, if we're listening, paying attention.
So in your book, Everyday Awakening, do you go through how to unveil in people as they go through these spiritual awakenings? Is there kind of, a process that they'll learn in your book?
Yep. I have 5 practices. My tagline for my book is 5 practices for coming into your heart and soul. And the practices, quickly to share, first coming back to the present moment, connecting with something greater, growing your trust, and then embodying love and holding openness. So these 5 practices, and I have 42 exercises. So it's not just staying in your mind, but coming into the moment and feeling the moment, feeling flow, feeling love, being able to feel the guidance that's here. That is what my book is all about. How can you open into yourself and to the oneness of the world?
Can you give us a couple examples how you embody love more, how someone can embody love more?
One of my favorite exercises I've done for much of my life, it's actually just putting your hands over your chest and just breathing. And feel the warmth of your hands, starts to calm your body, your nervous system. Feel the warmth of your hands. And you can add, a loving kindness phrase. May I be at peace. If you believe in something beyond, you could say, give me peace. And just breathe. Really powerful to bring you into the moment, to start to feel into your body, start to feel into your heart. I have several practices in the chapter Embody Love. We can truly open our heart, grow love in our heart, if it's through a meditation, a breath exercise. Even this comes out of Louise Hay's work, who I loved from back in the 70s. Even it's called mirror work. You look in the mirror and you say the words, I love you, I really love you, I really love you, and insert your name. And I can promise you, I've done this on and off for many, many years. If you do that, say those 3 sentences 10 times every day for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're going to notice more of an opening, because you're telling your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. I grew up in a family where I did not hear I love you. And when I was in my 30s, I'm like, I want to feel more love. And this is one of the exercises I did, and it does work.
That's a great tool because, unfortunately, a lot of people struggle with self-love, which of course then leads to destructive behavior and self-sabotage, in any aspect of their life. Oftentimes, even the entrepreneurs that I work with, when we're working more on the personal development side, have got some serious self issues when it comes to self-love. And I think it's way more prevalent than I think we give credence to.
And it all starts first with each one of us. The more love we have in our heart, our soul, our being, we can share with others. But it does start with, can you feel into your heart? Can you open your heart? Can you grow love in your heart? These are all, awareness, consciousness, choices. There's practices. We can do it, every one of us. But again, it's a choice. It's a practice.
Sure. Yeah. The saying is, you can't give away what you don't own.
Exactly.
Catherine, this has been a really wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I'm very, very grateful that you've come on here today. And again, like I said, this is during the holiday time, and when a lot of people are struggling to find meaning or to maybe to get reconnected with their source or power or God, however they define it. And I think today's been a useful conversation that may inspire some people to look at that maybe in a different way, so they can ground themselves in a purpose and something bigger than themselves. So I really want to thank you for being on and sharing that with us today.
Thank you for having me on. And I would just say, have everyone tuning in. How do you want to live your life? What do you want for your life? Are you open to being open and growing and becoming more fully alive? And it's here. It's here for every one of us.
It's a great point. So how can people find you, and where can they get your book?
My book, Everyday Awakening, is on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's in Barnes & Nobles in a bunch of cities in the country. It's everywhere. If you just Google Catherine Duncan, Everyday Awakening. My website is everydayawakening.com. And I'm also on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as Catherine Duncan. MABCC is my anchor for all the social media.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you. Wish you nothing but joy, health, and happiness through the holiday season and into next year, and keep sharing and spreading your light and wisdom.
Thank you. Blessings to you. Great to meet you.
Same here. Triple P Nation, that's Catherine Duncan. Make sure you go get her book, Everyday Awakening, at Amazon or her website, and delve into this, because having a Triple P life is about empowering in dreams, igniting passion, and accelerating prosperity mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. So this is an important element. This is one of the pillars. I don't talk enough about this. It's hard to find great guests like Catherine who understand it as well as she does. But this is an important tool that has to be a part of your journey moving forward, especially into 2025. So as I always say, you be you, just be the best you, and I promise you will always empower your dreams, ignite your passion, and accelerate your prosperity. Until next week, be well.